कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकि कोकिलम्। रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताया पतये नमः। जयत्याश्रितसन्त्रास ध्वान्तविध्वंसनोदयः प्रभावान् सीतया देव्या परमव्योमभास्करः परमव्योमभास्करः।
श्रीमते निगमान्त महादेशिकाय नमः. In our wonderful fortune of understanding Srimad Ramayanam better, here is the description given to the king Dasharatha. Dirghagdarshi Mahatejaha Paurajanapadah Priyaha Tasyam Puryam Ayodhyayam Vedavid Sarva Sangraha Yatha Manur Mahateja Lokasya Parirakshita Tatha Dasharatho Raja Lokasya Parirakshita. Like how the supervisor for the human race rules the world without any discrimination, called Manu, so was King Dasharatha to his subjects, Tatha Dasharatho Raja Lokasya Parirakshita. Such a king was guided by the counsel of his 8 ministers, Drishtihi, Jayantaha, Vijayaha, Surashtraha, Rashtravardhanaha, Akopaha, Dharmapalaha, Sumantraha. These were the 8 ministers who used to guide Dasharatha in the administration of his kingdom in various aspects, be it military, be it economy, be it religious affairs, be it affairs with the subjects. When I say affairs, good schemes for the public, all these 8 ministers used to guide the king. Indeed, he also had religious advisors. They were Vasishthaha, Vamadevaha, Suyagnaha, Jabalihi, Kashyapaha, Gautamaha, Markandeyaha, Katyayanaha. These were the 8 sages who used to guide Dasharatha. While this is said on one side, Dasharatha earlier had a daughter called Shanta, who was given in marriage to Vibhandaka's son, Rishyashringa. That said, Dasharatha wanted now boys. He wanted sons for his kingdom. As mentioned before, he had a daughter, now he wished sons. There could be a question. Why should he desire sons again? He still had the choice to ask for girls. Now, we need to understand the human psychology. If the couple, be it the mother and the father together, the prospect parents together, if they wish a girl child, I or you do not have the right to go to their house, knock at their door and oppose their right. They have the wish to have a daughter. It is their choice. They have the wish to have a son. It is their choice. But where will it go wrong? If they have thought of a son and a daughter is born, if they have thought of a daughter and a son is born, and they are opposing to the birth and the gender of that particular newborn child tooth and nail and bring harm to the child physically or keep abusing the child, then as the public, we have the responsibility to question such parents and if need be even complain. But just one mere interest in desiring a daughter or a son cannot bring us or ask us or coax us to come to a conclusion that they are wrong. Similarly, Dasharatha now desired sons. The other reason mentioned by some of our acharyas was, in those days, though women and men were treated at par in the Vedic system, in the literature, in practicality, men were more dominant. Maybe the dominance is still continuing, which can be countered with both the men and women being respected, being treated equally in the society. That said, now Dasharatha wanted a son who could be a recipient of his fatherly love, as well as could take the administration of the kingdom ahead after his times or after his demise. So, desiring sons, he wished to perform certain rites mentioned in the Karma Kanda of the Vedas, for which the Council of Ministers suggested that Rishyashringa, the son-in-law, the Jamata of the king of Angadesha, the husband to Shanta, should be brought to Kosara Janapada and he should be asked to perform the yagas. Dasharatha, who desired so, he said, let me now ask him, request him to perform Ashwamedham first. Mamalapyamanasya sutartham nasti vai sukham tadartham hayamedhena yakshamiti matir mama hayamedhena yajñam. Hayamedhena yajñam. Haya is horse. Hayamedhena yajñam is Ashwamedha yajñam. So he wanted to perform. Who was Rishyashringa, the person who was invited? Kashyapasya cha putrosti vibhandaka iti shrutaha Rishyashringa iti khyataha tasya putro bhavishyati. It is said in some of the books, however, it has been described in our Puranas and Itihasas, that is, a rishi, a human rishi, his retas is what that fertilized the ovum of a doe, a female deer, and thereby the child who was born was a concoction of the human and the deer race. This is what we have been told. But please remember, be it Valmiki Maharshi or Vyasa Bhagavan, be it in Srimad Ramayanam or Sri Mahabharatam, the shlokas presented to us are in the form of poetry. And poetry is always known to exaggerate a little happening. If there is an incident, it will exaggerate. So as readers, as rasikas, as astikas, we must strip those shlokas of all their fantasy elements, of the exaggeration elements, which is called Atishayokti, and see only the message of that shloka. Then only we will be able to relate to that particular scripture. One. Second thing, remember that science doesn't change every 100 years. When I say science doesn't change, the improvements can happen, inventions can happen, but what remains water throughout the yugas. Similarly, it is known even in basic science that two elements, human race and the deer, cannot come together. That is one jati and this is another jati. That is the deer jati, this is the Manushya jati. In such a scenario, just because you have a male from the human race, a female from the animal race, you cannot bring them together. This is against science. And our acharyas would never go against nature. So, we should interpret these shlokas in a very relatable, logically tenable manner. What is that logically tenable manner? The rishi called Vibhandaka, he had a relationship with his wife of the human race. The child who was born had features that resembled the deer of the Rishyam genus category. Like how we say, that person, he keeps shouting, thereby he barks like the dog. It doesn't mean he was born to the dog. It means he has traits of that particular animal. We see certain human beings who keep nodding their head. Another person will state, is he an elephant? Why should he keep nodding his head? That doesn't mean he was born to an elephant. Similarly, this child was born with features that resembled that of the Rishyam deer. So he was called Rishyashringa. He was not born to the doe. He was born to a human being. This Rishyashringa was invited. On the other hand, when such a proposal was placed before the king, Sumantra reminds the king that the Sanatkumāras had once pronounced a blessing. Hey Dasharatha, you have been very hospitable to us. Thereby we bless you that you shall have 4 sons in the future. Till now he had had no sons. Now Sumantra reminds Dasharatha of the blessing given by the Sanatkumāras. He says, Sanatkumāra's blessings will never go in vain. They have blessed and that will be fructified soon. Hey Dasharatha, remember this. For that, you need to ward off the papams, the sins that you have committed in your previous births, which is called Sanchita Karma. A large portion of the Sanchita Karma can be washed off when you perform the Ashwamedha Yajnam. Hey Dasharatha, you belong to the Shukla Yajurveda. Each of us will be belonging to that house. I am sure there will be children watching in your house. Children are very, very hooked to Harry Potter. In Harry Potter, you have 4 houses, right? You have got Sarsa, Slytherin, you have got Hufflepuff, you have got Ravenclaw, you have got Gryffindor. Similarly, there are 4 Vedas. Each of us are associated with one Veda from the legacy that we know of. I belong to the Yajur Veda. Somebody else may belong to Rig Veda. Some may belong to Samam and a few may belong to Atharvanam. So we have to perform karma based on the injunctions given in our Veda. So Dasharatha must have belonged to Shukla Yajur Veda. Does Valmiki explicitly state that? No. He says how the Vedika, that particular altar for performing the yajnam, was constructed. While describing, he describes the shape of the altar and the number of bricks taken. From the specifications in the shlokas given, Govindaraja in his commentary called Bhushanam concludes that Dasharatha must have belonged to Shukla Yajurvedam. So during this particular period of Shukla Yajurvedam based Ashwamedha Yajnam, Dasharatha couldn't have had the time to administer his kingdom. So for that 1 year, here it is said, Samvatsareti, for about a year, Samvatsarante Diksheta. So for 1 year, Dasharatha had to pledge that he will perform the yajnam. During that period, Vasishtha was given the power to administer the kingdom. Generally, imagine your son or daughter is in the US. The house has to be sold. They will give it on paper that I will give the rights of my share to this person. Let him do it on my behalf and they will register. Similarly, Dasharatha gave that power to Vasishtha and sincerely and religiously with his wives, amongst them the principal wife Kaushalya, he performed the Ashwamedha Yajnam. So towards the end of the Ashwamedha Yajnam, he had to perform, because Ashwamedha Yajnam itself took 1 year. At the end of it, he had to perform Putra Kama Ishti. Ishti is that particular karma mentioned in Shrautam, where you desire for any particular object or a person. Kama Ishti, Kama is desire. What did he desire? Putra Kama Ishti. He desired a son. Again, there could be a counter question. Sir, you mentioned that he had a daughter earlier. So he had the ability, the right to desire sons now. So he performed Putra Kama Ishti. But look at the name of the yajnam, sir. Why is it called Putra Kama Ishti? Why can't it be called Putri Kama Ishti? If Vedic civilization has treated the men and the women equally, for those who desire girl children, shouldn't it be called Putri Kama Ishti? Why should it be called Putra Kama Ishti? Very valid question. So based on Atharvana Veda, with the help of the Ritvik and the person performing called as Rishishringa, Dasharatha towards the end of 1 year, after having performed Ashwamedha, performed Putra Kama Ishti. Why is it called Putra Kama Ishti? We shall see in the next episode.
Dear Astika reader, I am happy to be authoring a 2-part book on the Ramayana in English. The first part is slated for release in the year 2024. The book aims to recreate and retell the Ramayana of Valmiki, conforming to the ancient commentaries and other allied literature. To receive notifications of the book release, kindly register with www.deshikadaya.org/books. Namaskaram.